The basic design of the sea kayak hasn't changed much since its Arctic invention centuries ago, and it's just as easy to maneuver through the mangroves as it is the Arctic waters. So join us as we pack and paddle our way through the barrier islands of Tampa Bay and make our own adventure on Trailside.
Trailside is brought to you by Chevy Tahoe, encouraging you to find your own little part of the planet.
Florida's west coast is vastly different than the east. On the Atlantic side, you have one of the largest coral reef systems in the world. On the Gulf side, just pure white sand that rolls gently into the warm reaches of the Gulf of Mexico. Through the years, this region has played host to native cultures, Spanish explorers, and a military presence that predates the Civil War. In the center of it all lies Tampa Bay, the largest open water estuary in the state and home to some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. I'm meeting up with Jim Wilson, a longtime park ranger here at Fort DeSoto Park. He's a naturalist, a historian, and one of the few residents here on Mullet Key. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Brian. Welcome to Pinellas County.
Oh, it's great to be here. How big is this park?
It's well over 1,100 acres spread over 5 keys.
5 keys? I thought it was just 1 key.
No, there's 5 keys. They were landlocked by the Army Corps of Engineers back in the 1950s.
Oh, that must have wreaked havoc on the environment.
It did interrupt the natural flow of the waterways, but the Parks Department is underway of installing bridges between St. Jean's Key and Mullet Key, Bon Fortune Key and Mullet Key to open up that natural flow.
Well, that sounds like a pretty big project.
Huge project, but well worth it.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your park today.
Well, let's get a better look.
Okay. So how many times a day do you climb these stairs?
One more time than I'd like to, but it's a good climb. Take a look behind you.
Oh, yeah. That's incredible. Now, is that the bay or the Gulf?
Now, that's the Gulf of Mexico, and you can understand why this was chosen as an outpost.
Oh, sure. Now, is this the first settlement here?
Oh, no. Before European explorers, the Tocobacan Indians used this land to hunt, fish, and overnight camp. Then in 1528, the Spanish explorer Narvaez arrived somewhere between here and Clearwater, did some exploring, and then moved northward. In 1539, Hernando de Soto arrived just to the south, explored Tampa Bay, and then pushed on. Fort DeSoto's got a lot of history. It's a huge piece of property. We've got a lot of ecosystems here we're going to check out. If I had a map, I'd give you an overview of our hike today.
You know, I may be able to help you out. I picked up a placemat this morning at the restaurant I was eating at because I had a map on it so I could find my way here. Check that out.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work just fine. Perfect. We're right here at the southern tip of Mullet Key. We're going to work our way north here to Arrowhead, where we'll take a hike. There you'll meet Gene, and you'll paddle over to Sawyer Key. Paddle through a mangrove fringe there, back into Bunce's Pass. Then you'll follow Mullet Key along the coastline to the southern tip. From Mullet Key, you'll travel over to Egmont Key.
And what's the distance to Egmont?
Oh, it's roughly a mile. Hey, we got a lot to see. Let's get going.
Okay. So what, the fort's about 100 years old?
Yes, that's correct. It was completed in 1907. But the military significance dates back to before the Civil War.
Yeah, how's that?
Well, in 1849, a young brevet colonel by the name of Robert E. Lee surveyed the property for the Union Army.
The General Robert E. Lee?
Well, at that time, he was a Union officer. You have to remember, that was before the Civil War.
So he was working under the auspice of the Union Army at the time.
Yes, and that's correct. His findings, though, came back to haunt him during the Civil War when the Union was able to blockade Tampa Bay from the Confederacy.
Oh, I see. So how much of this structure is still original?
Pretty much all of it. The powder rooms, the shot rooms, the fuse rooms, they're all original. The sidewalks that you see, the brick roadways that you see, and also the plotting room.
Plotting room? What is that?
The plotting room, that's where they take the information collected from the observers upstairs and communicated it down to the plotting room where they would triangulate the targets for the armament.
must really be thick.
Great observation, Brian. They're anywhere from 8 to 20 foot thick, and the ceilings are up to 5 foot thick concrete, covered by 72,000 cubic yards of sand.
Wow.
This area of the fort is known as Battery Laidley.
Wow, Jim, this is incredible.
Yeah, Brian, this is a perfect example of turn-of-the-century armament because it was getting more powerful and accurate.
How does something like this work?
Well, this mortar's in the loading position. A crew of 12 men would load the projectile anywhere from 800 to 1,000 pounds in here, and they back it with a 50-pound black powder charge that was wrapped in a silk bag. And then they'd run the fuse back to the firing room. And they wait for the lookouts to go back to the plotter's room to give the coordinates so they could get the azimuth of the gun to get the proper shot. This mortar over here is in the firing range. They would manipulate this gun, get it at the proper angle, this one being at about a 70-degree angle, which would fire about a mile and a quarter, the minimum distance.
Well, what's the maximum distance?
Well, the maximum distance would be at a 45-degree angle, cover about 6.5 miles.
6.5 miles. Could you imagine being on a ship 6.5 miles out and then all of a sudden, kaboom?
Brian, that never happened because they never fired these during the war. These are only fired in practice. Although these 4 guns that we have here, these 4 mortars are the last 4 left in the continental United States.
That's cool.
You ready to stretch your legs? We got a lot of park to see.
Okay. Wow, Jim, where'd all this water come from? Is this Tampa Bay?
No, actually, this is a tidal surge from the Gulf of Mexico. What you have here is a perfect example of a healthy estuary.
What makes it so perfect?
Well, you have the mangrove fringe, which has decaying matter, which is trapped in the seagrasses offshore, the spartina and the turtle grass, which attracts the bait fish.
Well, what do the bait fish feed on?
Well, they're feeding on the decaying matter that's there, and the bait fish are being fed on by the game fish, juvenile game fish.
What kind of game fish populates this area?
We have trout, Spanish mackerel, redfish, snook, and even tarpon.
Hey, what, all this water looks great.
Yeah, you feel like going wading?
Yeah.
Come on, I got something special to show you.
All right. There's a lot of birds here. That's pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah, this lagoon is a great place to see birds foraging.
Yeah? Is this on the migration route?
Yeah, all of Fort DeSoto is a part of the Florida Birding Trail. We're a gateway, which means we have over 280 species of birds.
Do you have any of the rare birds here?
Oh, sure, we have some rare birds. We have some roseate spoonbills right there now. We also have some American oyster catchers and also the reddish egret, both in the white phase and in full plumage.
Now, I didn't know the egret was a rare bird.
Well, it's a species of special concern, meaning it's protected, and also the American oyster catchers.
How do you tell one from the other?
Well, you use sight, meaning looking to see the color of the feathers, also the color of the legs and the bill. Also, you can use the shape. You look at the size of the wings, the shape of the wings and the body. And you also use sound, which we need to be quiet because we're in their neighborhood, and this is a nesting season.
Okay.
It's also nesting season of one of my favorite species,
What's that?
the loggerhead turtle.
Oh, yeah?
Let's head over to the beach and see if we can see some signs.
Okay.
No, Brian, don't head up in the dune. The vegetation in the dune is protected. It's not only protected for the dunes, it's also protected because it could be the home to a loggerhead turtle nest.
Really?
That's what I was hoping to show you.
Okay.
But let me show you down here what would have happened. The turtle, there's the edge of the water. The turtle would make the crawl out of the water, head up, now 30 to, can go all the way to a quarter of a mile.
Really?
What she'll do is she'll dig a clutch. It's a hole, 20 inches, maybe 30 inches deep. She'll take a flipper and dig down in there, actually augering that flipper, flipping the sand out. Then she'll spin around and she'll lay, anywhere from 75 to 150 eggs into that clutch. Then she'll turn back around and she'll flip that sand back into the hole. We call that a splash. Then she'll crawl back into the water, a long journey. What'll happen in the morning, a ranger will see that crawl, will come up to what we call the splash. We might identify that there's eggs in there, then we'll screen that, protect it from predators. Then what we'll do is we'll monitor that nest, anywhere from, 50 to 60 days. Then we're gonna have an emergence. When that emergence happens, we're gonna have 75 to 150 little turtles come out, and they'll do that at night.
Well, how do they know which way to go?
Well, that's a great question. What they do is they look out over the water and they see the reflection of the moon on the Gulf of Mexico, and that gives them the direction. Fort DeSoto makes an excellent place for that because we have very little artificial light here. Looking at that water, looks like you're about to lose your high tide. We better get going if you're gonna make that paddle with Gene.
Sure. I'm meeting up with Jean Tots from Sweetwater Kayaks. She's been guiding and instructing here in the Tampa Bay area for over 7 years.
Hey, you must be Brian.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jean.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
How was the fort today?
Oh, it was amazing considering it's 100 years old.
That is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Now you're going to get to see what the other side of Molokai has to offer.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I have some beautiful islands, mangrove islands, to show you today.
Good.
Are you ready to go paddling?
You bet.
Good. Well, let's get you geared up. And would you help pull me to shore?
Sure.
Thanks.
Now that's a lot of gear.
Well, Brian, this is just the basic stuff I take to have a safe day on the water.
Really?
Yeah. This is a paddle float, hat, tow system, paddle park, bilge, signaling horn, plenty of water.
Sure.
Lots of sunscreen.
Oh, yeah.
This is a deck compass, repair kit. Brian, can you guess what this is?
Peanut butter gone bad.
Not quite, but this is a peanut butter jar, and inside is a windbreaker jacket. Florida has the highest number of hypothermia cases in the country.
Oh, yeah?
It's because of their complacency in mild conditions like today.
Oh,
You can
okay.
even get cold on the water. So we take along a windbreaker. It's great. Fits right over you and your PFD. Gets you warm in just a few minutes.
Okay.
We have a repair kit here, first aid, cell phone, VHF radio, GPS, sighting compass, chart, and some flares because we're going out in open water today through a shipping channel out to Egmont Key. Brian, this is your PFD today.
Oh, great.
I really like this PFD. It has big, roomy pockets. All this stuff is great, but it's useless if you can't get to it. So what we've done is miniaturize some of the essential safety items so they fit right in your pocket.
Okay.
Here's your first aid kit, your duct tape, whistle. Right here is a couple of garbage bags with some bungee cords, and it can really come through on a number of emergencies.
Sure.
Right over here is our repair kit. So if we get a hole in our pocket in our boat today, we can patch it up with this.
All this fits right in these pockets.
Fits right into the pockets.
Okay.
There you go. This is your spray skirt. That'll keep the water out of your boat today. I brought along this dry bag so you can put that backpack in there.
Okay.
Hey, did you bring some paddling clothes?
Yeah, I've got them in my pack. Why don't I go change, grab this stuff, and I'll meet you at the boat.
Good idea.
Okay. So what, are we towing a couple boats with us today?
Hi, Brian. Those are recreational boats. In fact, that's that sit-on-top I was paddling today.
Oh, yeah.
They're a lot of fun. A sit-on-top you can get in and off of, and the wreck boat, too, is equally as fun. They're for flat water, close to shore. Since we're going on open water today, I've selected sea kayaks.
Oh, yeah?
They're sleek, and this one I have selected for you is especially nice. It's a British design. If you look here, there's inner thigh braces that gives you total control when you're in the boat.
Okay.
Another feature is this skeg. I'm going to turn this boat over and have you pull that lever down.
All right.
See how that fin drops down?
Yeah.
That gives you great directional stability on the water.
Straight tracking.
Straight tracking. And in addition to good boat design, we also have good paddle design.
All right.
I brought a couple of paddles today to show you. This one in particular I'd like you to try.
Oh, that is feather light.
It is. It's carbon fiber. And it has a unique design in the paddle as well. Do you notice that?
Oh, the wrist, yeah. The curve in the wrist.
That is a modified crankshaft. If you notice, it aligns your knuckles nice and straight and keeps that wrist in a neutral position. This is great to keep that wrist out of injury.
Okay.
So you can paddle all day long with that.
Can I use this today?
You certainly can.
All right.
So Brian, let's pack up and head on over to Sawyer Key.
Sounds good.
Brian, you're looking pretty comfortable there. You've done some paddling before?
Yeah, I've got the basics down, but I'll tell you what, I'm not too familiar with the design of this boat.
So you have a light grip on your paddle.
Yeah.
And your foot pegs, your feet are comfortable on there?
Yeah.
Those give great leverage against a paddle stroke.
Okay.
And your thigh braces?
Yeah, I've got my thighs up against them. Tell you what, this boat still is pretty sensitive.
Yes, it is. That's a 17 10-inch boat, and we'd like to take you beyond the basics today and show you how to turn that boat easily by putting it on edge.
Okay.
Putting a boat on edge shortens the water line and makes the boat turn faster. We do that by dropping one leg down, the other leg up, and off we go. Let me show you how that works.
Okay. Oh, that is slick.
So Brian, I'd like to give that a try with your forward stroke.
Okay.
Remember, you're going to dig in at your heel, come out at your hip, and put that boat slightly on edge.
All right.
That looks great. Whoa!
Right, that might happen.
That's all part of the learning curve. Here, let me help you get your boat. Just go ahead and lift up the bow there, and that'll get all the water in. We'll get you back in your boat and try it again.
Gene, this is fantastic. I'm really feeling comfortable with my paddling. It's almost like I'm on autopilot.
You're looking really great there.
Well, thank you. But you get a lot of activity in these waters, especially around these islands.
We sure do. This is Florida's largest estuaries. It's 398 square miles at high tide.
Really? So what kind of marine life do you see?
We have dolphins, manatees, birds. Often on a day of kayaking, a dolphin will come up and just swim right alongside of us.
Oh, that's got to be special.
It really is. And the manatee, they're so elusive, but when we do encounter them, it's an incredible experience.
Oh, yeah? So where are you taking me to?
I am taking you to one of my most favorite paddling places. It's a mangrove tunnel. And what we like to do is paddle very quietly, so all we hear is our paddles moving through the water.
Okay.
When you go in, you want to bend forward to avoid the low branches. And I think the water's a little low there today, so if you feel you need to push yourself along with your hands, go right ahead.
Okay. So what kind of wildlife do I see in a mangrove forest?
There's lots of little critters in there.
Yeah?
They have these little shy mangrove crabs that are on the roots, and as you approach, they all scurry to hide away from you. There's also mangrove snakes that sun themselves on the branches, and you might see some spiders in there too.
Okay.
So let's dig in and let's head for the tunnel.
All right. You weren't kidding when you said you had to duck down. My goodness.
Try not to hit the mangroves, because this is a really nice habitat in here, especially for small aquatic wildlife. It's almost like a little nursery.
Now, what are these little needle-like things coming up out of the ground?
Well, what you see here are actually two types of mangroves. The needle-like structures are black mangroves, and then the ones The root system that grows down into the water are red mangroves.
Oh, cool. Wow, this is beautiful.
We're getting close to Bunce's Pass. It's our waterway to the Gulf of Mexico. You're going to notice an increase of boat traffic, and technically, we have the right of way, but we're certainly going to yield to the bigger power.
You know, it sure is a lot different paddling in this open water than it was paddling in the flat water around the islands.
Sure is. There's a lot more challenges out here. Waves, wind, current. So this is where that edging really comes into play in managing your boat in these conditions.
Yeah, I'm already starting to use it to manage kind of the bumps and the rolls.
Looks good. You notice anything over there on the shoreline?
Yeah, real pretty beach.
No, it's the fort. See the palm trees and the railing going across the top?
Oh, yeah, they did a terrific job of camouflaging it, didn't they?
Sure did.
Those are the palm trees that Jim showed me. Those are where the mortars are at. Could you imagine being out here and one of those big mortars firing off and coming over the bow of your boat?
That would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, it would.
It's a great historic landmark. It's one that I use to tell me to head west, cross the channel, and get to the lighthouse.
All right. Yeah.
What a great crossing.
Yeah, it was.
Welcome to Egmont Key.
Oh, yeah.
There's the lighthouse over there.
Oh, she's a beauty.
Yep, she's still a working lighthouse. You can see her light for 15 miles.
Is that
and
right?
she still brings the ships in.
I'm sure she does. You know, this island is really beautiful. I think I'm going to get out and stretch my legs a bit.
That sounds like a great idea. I'll catch up with you in just a minute.
Okay. You know, these clear waters have seen a lot of change over the years, and no doubt there's a lot of change yet to come. I'd like to thank Jim Wilson for my tour of Fort DeSoto, and Gene for guiding me through the Barrier Islands. We're going to make our way up to the lighthouse to explore a bit, but we'll see you on the next Trailside.
To order home videos of this or any other Trailside program, or to order a Trailside guidebook, call 1-800-TRAILSIDE.
Comfort outdoors begins before you leave home. Don't cut costs on your sleeping bag or your sleeping pad. Both are essential for keeping the heat where you want it the most. And if you're looking for a new tent, consider one with a vestibule. It's a great place to store your pack and your boots outside the main body of the tent.